We're on a mission from God.
Wendy?
So I got that going for me.
Darling?
Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Light of my life.
We enjoy your films.
I am a human being.
I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
Welcome to Vintage Video, where we're rewatching the 80s so you don't have to. We'll be reviewing every major film release of the 1980s in real time. I'm Patrick O'Reilly.
I'm Jesse Bayless.
And I'm Richard Wells.
And today marks the 40th anniversary of the release of Die Laughing on May 23rd, 1980. It was written by Jerry Segal, Robby Benson, and Scott Parker, based on a novel by Scott Parker, directed by Jeff Werner, and released by Warner Brothers. No relation, I don't believe. First off, I want to say that the Vintage Video curse has taken another life. We just lost Buck Henry. You lost him a while ago, but he was the creator of the Get Smart series.
Yeah.
So that's a loss. For this film, Bud Cort was recovering from a very serious car accident that happened just prior to the beginning of production. He broke an arm, which is why he has a broken arm in the film.
Is that what the red
scars on his forehead?
Splotch on his forehead? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
That's all from the car accident. He fractured his skull. He knocked out a bunch of teeth. His lower lip was nearly severed completely. So, pretty nasty accident. It was on the 101 right over here.
Was he driving a really awesome, like, hearse Porsche thing?
I think it was a hearse Jag.
Oh, yeah, that's it, yeah.
But no.
It's so weird that we have this and, because we just did Empire with Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
Also.
Same situation, yeah.
Speaking of which, this is a good segue. Did you know that our lead here, Robby Benson, actually auditioned for Luke Skywalker role?
No, but I could see that.
Yeah.
I think that would work. The scars and injuries were just incorporated into Bud Cort's character of Mueller. And in 2011, he was in a second serious car accident that nearly tore his arm completely off. And then a third collision where Cort's knee, quote, fell off, end quote, and he had to relearn how to walk, according to an interview with The Guardian.
Horrible.
So that's no fun.
I suppose we can conclude now that Bud Cort is a terrible driver.
I want to buy him an Uber account. Like, can I do that from here? This was the final film of Elsa Lanchester. Or is it pronounced Lancaster?
I would say, well, since she's English, it might be Lanchester.
Lanchester? Robert is tearing his hair out right now listening to this podcast.
Katie Nana. We'll just call her Katie Nana.
Katie Nana, a.k.a. Elsa Lanchester?
A Lanchester always pays their debts.
Yes, that's what they say. We start the film with the logo for Orion, because this is an Orion film. We are introduced first to Mueller, played by Bud Cort, who is meeting with Dr. Stoll outside of his office hours.
Now, I was confused. What is the doctor's name?
Dr. Stoll.
Stoll.
S-T-O-L-L, I assume. I don't have the character list in front of me, but I think it's Stoll.
Because, hold on.
Do they call him something else later?
Because he's credited as Dr. Stowe, S-T-O-W-E.
I'm pretty sure they say Stoll.
That's what I kept hearing. And I was like, who is this, a different doctor?
No, it's definitely the same one. I think we'll just call him Stoll here because that's what it sounds like everyone in the movie is saying. But it's outside of his office hours. So Dr. Stoll says he doesn't have time to talk to Mueller, and he tells him to come back during his office hours. We move to a laboratory at the same school where Computer Onyx 12 is running a test. It's using a formula to convert plutonium waste into weapons-grade plutonium. And they are writing the program to a monkey's brain.
Mm-hmm.
They're using a computer to encrypt it into a monkey brain. And the monkey tells them,
No food, no data. Thank you.
so if they don't feed him, then they don't get to learn the formula.
To be fair, the monkey doesn't say no food, no data. He, types it out.
He says it the way Coco would say it, which is pushing buttons to indicate words.
Yeah. I just want to make it clear here. We don't have a Dr. Doolittle.
Yeah, this movie isn't crazy. But the three of them, the two scientists and the monkey laugh as a gunman enters the laboratory and shoots everyone to death very suddenly, except for the monkey. I guess the monkey's fine. But
Dr. Stowe's fine too.
Well, he wasn't in the room though when this shooting happened.
That's true.
But the guy swings his gun around the room and he kills two scientists, but not before one can grab like a cup of acid and throw it at his face and successfully like melts half of his face off. And then he leaves the laboratory, I guess without the monkey, because he doesn't have the monkey when he leaves this facility. He's just distracted by his face melting. He shoots some more after he gets the acid in the face, and as a result of that destroys this mirror in the foreground that I didn't even realize was a mirror that's like in front of the monkey cage or something like that. But it just looks really weird. And then they zoom in on the face of the female scientist who is like smiling with blood dripping out of her mouth. And then it says "Die Laughing" on the side of the screen, which is the title of the film for some reason. But it really has nothing to do with anything that happens in the movie.
Well, to be fair, you did just say that the monkey made them laugh, and then they were shot to death. So they died laughing.
How could you do this to me? Embarrass me in front of the listeners.
There aren't many of them.
That's true. I guess I'll take solace in that no one is listening. Across town at a recording contract contest, Robby Benson, playing a character named Danny Pinsky, is performing a disturbing song about a barber that he remembers from his childhood. The barber has a collection of fidgety little boy's ears. It's actually a cute song, and of the 3 songs that he plays in this movie, that's my favorite.
The talcum smell like candy, the hair smell like rose, the bay rum smell like bubble gum, 2 or 3 or 4 kids' nose. I can hear Mr. Einstein saying, don't move when I use the shears. Right here in the straw, I got a collection of fidgety little boys' ears. Electric lippers.
I think they're all pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, they're decent songs. There's the one about like love being important is a little bit like not as musically interesting, but the first song and the last song I thought were decent songs.
He's got a really David Cassidy kind of feel to all of his songs.
But I don't hate it, although it doesn't necessarily feel exactly like 1980 music. It sounds like 60s or 70s.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's decent music, and he wrote all of it himself and is performing it here in the movie.
He wrote it with his dad.
Right, he wrote this movie with his dad. Jerry Segal is his father, despite the name difference. I paused the movie so that I could read this billboard for no reason that says, "You look like you just heard from Dean Witter," and I still don't know what that means. It must have made a lot of sense to the public of 1980.
It might have actually just been an actual billboard that
just holds
happened
on
to
it
be there. It does
too
hold
long.
on it for a while. Though not long enough for us to conveniently pause it to read it, because we had to try like 3 times.
Yeah. But we see Dr. Stoll on this subway, and he looks really worried. Something's going on, and he's got a big case in his lap. We cut back to Pinsky singing this song. It ends, and right as the song is ending, each of the musicians of the band is turning to look at the judges to find out if they've made it into the semifinals. Stoll gets off of the BART, so this is clearly the San Francisco area, and he goes to get into a cab, and Robbie drives up in the cab. He's the driver, and he's listening to angry voicemails on like a car phone that he has in the cab, and the doctor says that he needs to go to Bayshore in Geneva. There's lots of signage in the back of the cab about Pinsky's band, which is called Rush Hour. Isn't that like a real band? Big Time Rush, that's what I'm thinking of. There's signs for this band called Rush Hour in the back seat, and it's also the corners of the cab are all plastered with speakers because he clearly like traps everyone in here and forces them to listen to his music.
But then he puts on a set of headphones, and I don't know if he's doing that to muffle the sound or if he's listening to additional content.
This is way too loud for me.
I think he's listening to what he's actually playing over the speakers.
Maybe it's like how an X-ray tech has to hide behind a wall. Like they can't be exposed to it all day because they'll get cancer. But if you listen to it in moderation, it's good for you. Not that X-rays are good for you.
I don't think X-rays are good for you. It's like, oh, I gotta go get an X-ray.
The doctor says I need to get 8 X-rays a day. I don't think that's right.
An X-ray a day keeps the doctor away.
Yeah, I wouldn't go near you either. But he plays the music for Stoll and he puts the headphones on just as a gun barrel slowly enters through the passenger side window of the back seat and shoots Stoll through the heart, basically. And the guy who we now see his acid-melted face is the guy who shot up the laboratory is reaching in to grab the briefcase. It seems like we get some repeat action here. Like the hands come in to try and grab the case and then the cab drives away and then stops.
Yeah.
And then the hands come in to grab the case again.
Yeah.
Just seemed like it could have just happened once, maybe. But I didn't edit this. Robbie notices the guy is trying to take the briefcase or box out of the dead scientist's lap, and he tries to wrestle it away from him until he sees that this guy also has a gun. And he drives away very quickly, but manages to somehow keep the box and the dead scientist. He pulls over later, and he goes in the back seat to check on the scientist because he's just kind of flopping around in the back seat, and he realizes that the scientist is dead when he tries to, he puts his hands under his shirt like he's going to perform CPR or something, and his hands are covered in blood, and he's smearing it all over the body and himself. Yeah. And another woman sees the cab pulled over and thinks, oh, I'm going to get a ride with this guy. And then she sees that he found this gun in the back seat and his hands are covered in blood, and she thinks that he just killed this guy.
But it's really funny because she just stands there screaming her head off, not running away from the guy with the gun pointed at her, just screaming.
Right.
And so he has to point the gun back at her and be like shut up or I'll blow your head off.
It's also weird that no one else is reacting to this. People are kind of turning their heads, but no one's rushing the cab to get the guy or to get the woman away from him. He realizes that when he holds the gun up and points it at her that she stops screaming, and so he uses that to get her to shut up long enough that he can take the box out of the back seat and run off. I don't know why he took the box, but perhaps he'll die. He leaves the dead scientist, though, behind.
And the gun.
Yeah. All he takes with him is the box and a guitar that he had in the back seat.
Yeah, he goes back for the guitar.
Yeah. He goes back to his house.
Which is just a full, Victorian house that's up on pallets.
Yeah, it's one of those narrow, almost painted lady type houses from San Francisco, but it's got nothing around it.
Right. It reminds me of Batteries Not Included.
Yeah.
When they knocked down the whole neighborhood, but this one house was holding out, and they're just waiting on them to go.
And this all jacked up on pallets and stuff.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
So he goes into his house. He gets a note that was pushed under his door that says, hey, we made the semifinals. So he's excited about that. But then suddenly... Oh, I didn't mention this before, but as he was walking back to his house, he's climbing over rooftops and fences and alleyways. And we're hearing a montage of the reports on the murder.
Robbery is the apparent motive in a murder that has just taken place in downtown San Francisco. Dr. Leonard Stoll, a noted nuclear scientist and lecturer at Northern California University.
This just in. The San Francisco Police Department issued an all-point...
El Departamento de Policía de San Francisco expidió una alerta general.
November 12th.
And that they know this kid's name and they know who he is and where he is. And
yeah, and they're linking the murder to the other murders.
Right.
Of the lab.
At the lab?
At the lab.
Yeah.
Okay.
So right now they think that he's killed 2 people.
But there were 2 murders at the lab and 1 murder in the cab.
I thought there was 1 murder at the lab. I thought it was just the scientist's wife.
Yeah, because I think Dr. Stowe was the other scientist in the room.
I agree with that. I think he was the one that threw
maybe
the
I
acid.
misunderstood then. He threw the acid and he got away.
Yes.
With the monkey.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Then that's what happened there, and I missed it. But yeah, so they found those 2 bodies so far. He thinks he hears someone in his house, and he climbs around to check it out. Suddenly, he notices there's a stranger at his window. He opens the window, and the guy tries to get into his place, so he keeps slamming his fingers in the window.
This window is 3 stories up, and the only thing below this window is a drain pipe that the guy must have shimmied up.
Yeah, straight up, which it would have just fallen off the house if that was what he was doing. But he smacks the guy with a guitar and completely destroys his guitar, but doesn't push the guy out the window. And eventually he turns around and just kicks the guy out the window.
It's actually kind of funnier what happened. He didn't actually hit the guy with the guitar. He picks up the guitar to swing it, and it hits a wall inside the apartment and shatters into pieces.
Yeah.
And so then he just kicks the guy out the window.
Oh,
which
okay.
is just, it's hilarious because you think he went all the way back to the cab to get this guitar.
It must
means
mean a lot.
everything to him. And then he's, it's the first thing he grabs to hit the guy, and he doesn't even get to hit the guy with it.
Yeah. But this guy falls 3 stories to his death on the yard. And then a man in sunglasses walks up and looks down at the body and checks it to see if he died or not.
Yeah, I feel like this is the Happy Gilmore scene when Chubbs goes out the window and this is the guy looking up and shaking his head.
But yeah, so Pinsky takes the box again and runs away. As he's leaving the house, he's being photographed by a woman who we'll learn later is named Thelma.
Yeah, but there's a lot of really funny gags in this movie or just visual jokes. So when he's downstairs and running away like from the underneath the house, you see the guy who fell, but all you see is his legs sticking straight up,
like out of a big pile of dirt.
Like he fell headfirst, Wile E. Coyote style, and all that's sticking out of the ground
through the
is
ground.
his legs.
Yeah. So now Pinsky is going to his girlfriend's apartment, but when he opens the door, she's not home and her sister is there, and it's like a Humanoids of the Deep situation. She's waiting by the door with a knife and almost stabs him as he's coming in. She tells him that he's on TV for 3 murders, which I guess they're already reporting on the guy he kicked out of the window.
Right.
It's pretty quick. It's the only one that he actually did commit of the 3 murders. He tells the girlfriend's sister that the cops will never catch him because they don't really know anything about him. Then we cut to a room full of cops watching a slideshow and giving a lot of exposition into Pinsky's life, that most of which doesn't play into much.
Right.
Apparently he's like an orphan who his parent, is he an immigrant or is he just
I don't know about that, but he's being raised by the owners of a cab company.
Right. But originally he was placed with like a Chinese family or something like that, and then he was moved to the Arnold family. And the 2 people are Katie Nana and Arnold.
Yeah.
Is the name of the couple that run the cab company.
Is it actually Arnold? Or is this a situation like...
yeah, it's Samuels.
Samuels.
No, they say it's Arnold.
Yeah. They also mention that he has 78 unpaid parking tickets. Amy and Pinsky think they hear someone at the door, but there's nobody there, and it doesn't pay off at all.
Yeah.
They thought that.
I mean, they were mishearing the scratches from inside the box.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, so they were scratching in the box, and they thought it was at the door.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
But they decide to open this box now, and they release a monkey. There's a small monkey in here. And they also find inside the box a tranquilizer and Igor Zhukov's name.
Well, they find 3 tranquilizers. And I thought, okay, she uses one on him, but these other 2 are going to come into play for sure.
Yeah. I thought there was 1 tranquilizer and there was enough for 3 shots.
Oh, was it? Was that
yeah,
it?
I think that was it.
Okay.
But there's also a note that basically says to meet.
This is for you, Igor Zhukov, and you have to take this to Ivan something or other at 3 o'clock on Saturday. But he doesn't know what any of this means, and he pockets the note. And then he hears his actual girlfriend coming home. His girlfriend's name is Courtney, and before they can get inside, it's clear from the audio that she's bringing another gentleman home to the apartment. They're about to go out somewhere nice, and she's coming home to get changed or something. Before he can open the door to confront her about it, Amy tranks him with the tranquilizer gun that they found in the box and throws him in the closet with the monkey, which I feel like I'm following up until throwing the monkey in there, because the point of tranking him and putting him in the closet is so that no one can hear him.
Right.
When you put a monkey in a closet, it's going to start screaming.
To be fair, we've bounced this monkey around quite a lot inside of box, and it took him until now to open it.
Yeah.
That's true. And the monkey did not make a peep up until now.
I'm guessing he was tranked. But,
Maybe it's a very soundproof box. But we move back to Mueller's headquarters now, where he's reviewing the photos that Thelma took. It seems like the photos are like increasingly zooming in on his crotch, like as he's running by.
They're the only ones that are in focus.
Yeah. He walks out of this base that he has out onto like a vineyard, and he demands that these henchmen go and retrieve the monkey. So he has 3 or 4 people that are just at his beck and call. The next day, Pinsky is tuning his guitar in Amy's apartment. I guess it's an apartment that she shares with her sister, and she has her homework is set up in the typewriter, but the monkey sits down at the typewriter and starts typing over all of it. So she's going to have to start this one page over again,
right?
Which she's very upset about.
But he's reacting to the tones from the guitar.
Right.
And he types something, which we never see.
Yeah.
And that really upset me.
Well, they said it was gibberish, though.
Well, she said it was gibberish.
She said it was gibberish.
And then he looks at it and says, like Close Encounter style,
this means something. It's important.
See, but I thought it was going to be like CH3O, arrow, like it was going to be like an actual chemical equation, which would appear to be gibberish if you're not familiar, because she's like majoring in business.
Yeah.
So in the 80s, I would assume she knows nothing about anything else.
But I think the reason that we never see what she typed is because Robbie Benson is like, it seems like he's a high school dropout. He's driving a cab and running a band at the same time. Like, it wouldn't make any sense for him to understand the chemistry either. So we just have him pick it up and go, this is important. This means something. Mm-hmm. And then we cut away from it. The press is out trying to find Pinsky, and Arnold stands up in his garage and decides he's going to recruit all of his mechanics to find Pinsky before the police can or the press can. He offers a $20 reward.
Yeah. But he clearly cares about Pinsky.
Right.
Like he can tell he's frustrated, but he doesn't want anything bad to happen to him.
Yeah. He's also wearing the exact same outfit that he's wearing in the slideshow when police are telling us who Arnold is, because they clearly just used a picture from this scene for that earlier scene, which is like when they used that picture from Raiders of Marcus in the frame in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
That was so absolutely insulting.
Yeah. There's no other pictures of this actor in the universe.
Denholm Elliott did not have a long career, and he wasn't also actually in the military, so you couldn't just...
Nope.
It's
definitely not.
Everything about that. You just brought up a whole bunch of...
I only brought it up to make you
opening up
angry.
old wounds here with Richard.
That was on purpose.
So I have to say, this is like a thing. I get Charles Durning and David Huddleston confused.
David Huddleston, okay. When she said, who is this guy? I recognize him. And I was like, it's not Brian Dennehy.
Right.
Because they play similar characters
Because both Durning and Huddleston play similar characters in Coen Brothers films.
That's true.
And I was just like, oh, this is the Big Lebowski. It's like, wait, no, he's not. This is
it's the other one.
The other one, the Big Lebowski. This is Hudsucker?
Yep.
This is Mr. Hudsucker.
Yeah.
the other Coen Brothers movie. And he's also in A Brother.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so it's just like, I get these guys so confused.
Yeah. But I always just remember him as Doc Hopper.
Right. Danny calls a friend of his, one of his band members, and he's wearing this bizarre mask while he talks to Danny, Pinsky. And he says, hey, we're still going to play the show. I'm going to be there, even though I'm a wanted man. We're just going to have to find a way to sneak in. And his friend takes off the mask that he's wearing to reveal a tighter, smaller mask around his face. But the press is interviewing Arnold at his mechanic shop as Pinsky is sneaking through the facility to steal a cab. He pulls over to use a broken payphone to tell Amy that he's going to the intersection that the doctor asked him to take him to look for the next clue, but that he'll come back later to get the monkey, and they're still going to perform in the next round of this singing competition or performing competition. We see a circus setting up shop, and they have banners out. One of the banners is for Igor Zhukov, who seems to be like a beast master. He has animals all around him, and that was the name that was on the note with the monkey. The band sneaks into the concert venue dressed as rabbis, and
but they don't actually sneak into the concert venue. This is really convoluted. They sneak into some sort of, Jewish center of some sort.
Next door.
Several houses down, it seems, and then crawl through windows and back alleys and up sideways. I don't know. They end up inside the concert venue finally, but I don't understand why they did it that way.
Just because they needed a costume, and that would be a place to enter in that particular costume, I guess.
I guess they were looking to not enter the front door of this venue because people might have been staking it out knowing he'd be there.
That's what I say, yeah. If they're going to show up in disguises, why not just use those disguises to get into the concert venue?
Place that you need to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no reason.
But it does set up the thing that's later, I guess.
Yeah. It almost seems like they planned it for that and then forgot that they planned ahead for that specifically. But the cops find this stolen cab outside of the Jewish center, and that's when he calls it in and says, hey, I just found the cab that got stolen from that place. I bet Pinsky's in here. As they're performing in the second round of the contest, a bunch of, I don't know, are they cops? People are showing up in like military uniforms with medals on. Like, is the army after him now?
Is the National Guard?
I don't know.
I don't know. The monkey's got military secrets, so.
Yeah. But yeah, so Pinsky sings his song.
Love is why I live, love is why I sing. It's what makes me wake up and try my wings. What's a song without music?
After the song ends, they go back to the green room, or Pinsky by himself goes back to the green room, and he's eating a chocolate bar in the most disturbing and frustrating way possible. He like jams the whole thing down his throat and then chokes on it and then pulls it out and then jams it back into his mouth. It's like, what do you just take bites like a human? What are you doing? And then suddenly he hears that the cops are there.
Pinsky, Daniel, we got the place surrounded. Don't try to get away.
And they're telling him to come out with his hands up. And so he does. He tries to make as little a show as possible as he's walking past the judges at the concert hall. And he comes out with his hands up, but then he notices that the cops are at the door of the Jewish Center a couple buildings down. And he decides he's going to leave. So he calls a cab from the same cab company where he stole the cab earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And because his plan is, I'm going to steal another cab. So he tells them to knock really loud because he's hard of hearing. And so he needs them to knock on the door. They can't just pull up. They need to come out of the car and knock on the door. And he's pretending to be this old lady character that's really annoying and pointless.
Knock, because I don't hit so well.
Will do.
What?
I said I'll knock on the door real loud.
But then Arnold says he's going to come by himself because all the other cars are in use. So he's going to do this run on his own because she's just around the corner. So he pulls up and he gets out of the car to knock on the door. And while he's knocking on the door, Pinsky steals the car, which is like the flagship, like nicest car of the whole fleet. He goes back to Amy and Courtney's apartment building. And as he's walking through the entrance, he bumps into a guy who says that he's a friend, but he's being very weird. He's just like, oh, it's just me. I'm a friend. I'm going to help you later when you're in need. And then he sneezes on him on his way out. He goes up into the apartment, which is eerily quiet, and he's worried that something happened when Amy and the monkey jump out to surprise him. They get into the cab because they got to keep it moving or else the cops will find him. And they're sleeping in it when a woman sneaks up, one of Mueller's henchmen, and tries to steal the monkey. She looks like a gypsy, like fortune teller type character.
Right. This is the one that took the pictures of his crotch, right?
Thelma, yeah.
Yeah.
The monkey runs away. There's a weird, like, rewound shot here, too. When they wake up and realize that she's in the car trying to take the monkey, like, instead of just pulling her hands back and standing up outside of the car, they rewound the shot of her reaching into the car. Mm-hmm. The gunman shows up again and points his weapon at the kids, and the monkey climbs up into a tree and then onto a road sign nearby. So he's standing at the top of the Spring Street sign. There's a funny line here from Pinsky when he looks at the guy whose face is like all melted, and he's like,
See what happens when you pick your pimples? You're dead, punk.
And he's like trying to touch his face while he's saying it. And the guy gets really mad about it. And he tells Danny that he has to lure that monkey down or he's going to shoot him, which I don't know why he assumes that there's like a trick to getting the monkey down.
Right.
But there is. He suddenly starts doinging.
Doing, 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 doing.
What are you doing now, Pinsky?
Doing, 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 doing.
Which, like, this is not
so weird.
This is not a pattern. We haven't established that this works every time. This one time he was playing a guitar when the monkey happened to type something, and so we've determined that this series of descending notes means that the monkey will
come to him,
I guess. So he just starts going doing, 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 doing. The people are all standing around like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? And instead of answering and saying, this is the sound I made earlier and the monkey came to me, he just goes doing, doing, doing. Starts doing it again, and then the monkey just jumps down to his arms.
It's truly a bizarre noise that he makes.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like he's not singing a note. Like he's literally doinging in what sounds like an electronic-y kind of way.
Yeah,
I think he's just pitch perfect.
He's like got like a little quivering sound to it. It's like it's not just doing. It's like ripply.
It's bizarre.
He knows what he's doing, but it works. The monkey jumps down to him, and
then he throws it in Mr. Bock's face.
There's a scuffle, and then the monkey gets the gun.
I also like that you look I don't know if you can see my notes. They have a scuffle.
Yeah. No, it was very clearly a
The
scuffle.
monkey gets a gun. He's got a sword.
We've all got swords!
He's got a gun. We've all got guns. I should specify that this is not like a any which way but loose, like Clyde, like orangutan. This is a
that's an ape.
This is like a capuchin monkey. Like
this is a monkey.
Like
Tiny
a little
monkey.
marmoset
This
type
isn't
thing.
even like a dog-sized monkey. This is like
This
a
is
kitten-sized monkey.
the monkey from Raiders.
Well, I was going to say the monkey from Friends, but yes.
Maurice.
Marcel.
Marcel.
Oh,
I was
Marcel,
close.
you were so close.
We're going to say the monkey from Community, Annie's Boobs.
That's right. Are they all the same kind of monkey? I guess they are. But yeah, this gun probably weighs as much as the monkey does. Amy drives away with the monkey and Pinsky. He's like up on the hood of the car, and she's driving in reverse full speed, and then she slams on the brakes so he comes tumbling over the windshield, holding, thank God, a stuffed animal monkey, because it looks like he just crushed this monkey tumbling over the car.
I mean, it's supposed to be the real monkey. But
Right.
clearly it's
Right.
not.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
hopefully it's not.
There's a lot of stunts that involve the monkey being tumbled and running around with that. It's not a super convincing stuffed animal, but
Well, there's definitely one later, though, that I think ought to have been a stuffed animal that wasn't. That I'm really surprised that they, like, threw this monkey. It looks, like, really dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was fine.
we'll get to the part with.
I mean, this isn't the Milo and Otis producers just
Yeah.
like hucking a cat off a waterfall.
God.
When Peter Coyote has it later, I was just like, oh God.
Oh no. You never want your cat to be in the custody of a coyote. Get it? As speaking of Peter Coyote, as the car drives down the alleyway, we get another shot of this random guy with sunglasses just watching the car go by.
And they're really odd sunglasses.
Yeah.
They almost look like they're electronic.
They're like Doc's sunglasses in Back to the Future Part 2, kind of.
Feels
They're
like something that-
silver and wraparound.
It's like something Devo would wear.
Sure. We're back in Mueller's headquarters vineyard area, and this scene doesn't really make a lot of sense. I feel like they just needed to touch base with this character again.
Yeah.
And he just says, like, well, we're going to share this delicious vintage wine when we catch that monkey, so go get the monkey again, which is the same thing he told them last time. But this is actually like a Mueller wine because he owns a vineyard. The kids decide to leave the monkey with...
Well, here's the thing. This isn't a thing where they keep saying people's names differently.
Sophie.
She's credited as Sophie, but I think they call her Katie at some point.
I think they call her Katie multiple times. But you're right. The credit does say Sophie.
Yeah.
That confused me a lot.
But it's with Katie Nana, and I mean, because I'm saying Katie Nana from Mary Poppins, but
yeah,
but they do call her Katie in the movie.
Yeah, he does it in the last scene when they're like leaving the vineyard.
But but this is their apartment. It's the Arnold apartment.
Yes. So she has the monkey and she's going to take care of it while they continue their adventures and their contest. It turns out they made the finals, so that's great. They get to perform again. They just got to figure out how to do that without dying. So now Pinsky goes to the circus to meet with Igor and say, hey, I have your monkey. Someone was going to deliver a monkey. You were expecting a monkey? And he says, I don't know what you're talking about. And he gives him a little bit more information about the scientist and how he found this note. And then Igor kind of turns on him. And he says,
is fully aware who he is.
Right. And he's like, you know what? I have a show to do, but why don't you wait right here with Gregor? He's going to take good care of you. You can't go anywhere. And he's like, oh, you know what? It's been great. I hope I run into you someday when you're walking and I'm driving my cab. But Lurch will not let him leave and keeps getting in his way. This is the actor who played Lurch in the Addams Family movies. They decide that the best way to escape here is to start breaking fruits.
Yeah, I put it as he's challenging him to feats of strength.
Right. But and Gregor here is supposed to be the strong man, which he would obviously be the giant of the circus. He wouldn't be the strong man.
But also, why isn't he in the show?
Well,
yeah,
he probably
that's true.
is. He's just not performing right now.
Yeah. But either way, it starts with Pinsky like throwing an orange at him, which Gregor handily catches in the air, and then he breaks open a watermelon with like 2 fingers to show how strong he is. And then Pinsky wants to show that he's strong, so he smashes a watermelon over the top of his head and kind of dazes himself to the point that he falls and hits his watermelon-wrapped head into the pillar holding up the tent that they're in. And when the whole thing collapses, then Gregor is like trapped in the net of the tent, and Pinsky escapes.
But for some reason, he runs directly into the big
show.
top.
Yeah.
And becomes part of the show.
Yeah.
He still has a watermelon on his head at this point?
No. As soon as he gets out of the tent, he doesn't have a watermelon. But he jumps over this fence to get on a horse to escape, but he lands on it so hard that he wrecks his balls.
Mm-hmm.
And then he runs around during this circus show for a while, just barely not getting run over by all these different animals. He like tries to jump on an elephant and all this other stuff. He falls in a bunch of animal shit that's on the floor.
Yeah.
Unclear which animal, probably elephant. Eventually, Gregor gets into this tent, so he's trying to escape it by climbing into the trapeze net.
And the audience is loving it.
Yeah.
So
they're already on board. They're like, this is the underdog and this is the monster.
And so Zhukov is hesitant to stop what's going on because he's like, okay, well, this is clearly good for business here.
And then he pulls a Grayson escape.
Mm-hmm.
He climbs the whole way up the pole of the trapeze show and gets to the top of the circus tent and out of that little circular hole in the ceiling. And then he just walks very carefully over the top of it. And somehow Gregor gets out there too. And the two of them are tiptoeing across the top of this big top, just trying not to fall off on either side when...
They intentionally fall off.
Yeah. Well, Pinsky notices there's like a truck full of hay parked close enough that if he slid down, he would land in it. And so he does that. And then right as Gregor's about to follow him, the truck pulls away. And his friend shows up. The friend that stopped him in the lobby of Amy's building, who was like, I'm a friend. I'm going to help you later. And he sits up and he's like, oh, great. You're here. Oh, I'm so glad to see you. And he's like, yeah, my friends are here too. And he points at Acid Face and Thelma. And then he knocks Pinsky out. Amy notices that he's in the back of this hay truck, and so she follows in the nice cab.
And then they're spotted by another cab.
Right.
So...
From the cab company, who presumably calls Arnold and says,
right.
I found the kid, you owe me $20.
So, this is where I was like, got my big nerd glasses on and like pushing them up on my brow here. The road that they're driving on, when the other cab driver spots them, they're right at the Golden Gate Bridge. They're right near Fort Point.
Yeah.
And so they're heading towards Fort Point on that road.
Yeah.
That road doesn't go anywhere.
Oh, really? It's a dead end?
That is a dead end road. It ends at the fort. So because then the next scene, they're driving up on some other road. It's like, no. You'd have to double back and go all the way around.
In episode 13,
yeah.
he has the wizard key. But yeah, the next shot, I turned to Jess and I was like, that looks like Camarillo. Like, it could very easily be somewhere in Camarillo or Somas. But they're driving along up into the vineyard area, and she kind of loses the hay truck that she was following, and so she makes a turn, but it's the wrong direction. And
no, it was the right direction.
Well, it was the right direction, but not if she was trying to follow this truck.
Right.
That then pulls out and crashes into her because they know she's been following them.
Yeah. And then it stalls out the car until one of the bad guys gets in, and then it
fine.
doesn't stall anymore.
We move into the vineyard, the headquarters of the Mueller character, without Amy. Amy is in the custody of the bad guys outside, but we have Pinsky is like tied to a chair here, and Mueller starts monologuing. That he basically explains the whole situation, that this scientist developed this formula.
I want that formula!
To turn nuclear waste into weaponized plutonium, and that he gave it to the U.S. and he was going to give it to Russia too, so that not just one nation had it, which is a stupid plan, because just don't give it to either nation if you don't want just one nation to have it.
Yeah.
But,
well, I mean, I guess the does it have to be weapons grade? You know, if you're talking about like fast breeder reactors where you take nuclear waste and recompile it and then use it for a new type of reactor.
Yeah.
If they're taking this waste and making new nuclear material that could be used and then in another reactor rather than weapons.
If you come up with this formula, we're going to have to use it. Monkey encryption.
Monkey. The most secure. Screw this 256.
Yeah.
you want monkey encryption.
Yeah. This is where I have all my Bitcoin hid in a chimp somewhere. Is Bitcoin still a thing? We're recording this in January, so
yeah. Well, there's like 100 different cryptocurrencies. It's all
right. All my Dogecoin are in an actual Doge.
Mm-hmm.
Where was I? Yeah, Mueller's monologuing. He says that he thought that it was a dumb idea for this guy to give the information to the Russians, and so did the FBI, who found out about it, probably through him. And so they said, you keep an eye on the professor and make sure he doesn't give this information to the Russians. And he said that Russia has a computer that can decrypt this information from the monkey's brain, and that the only other computer is the one that Dr. Stoll has, but that he was able to recreate it from scratch. And so he has a replica of the computer here, and he's a genius. So he's going to use it to take over the world once he has the formula. And he does this weird thing. He steps out of the room to show him the computer, and then you get this whirring sound. It sounds like Loja's flight belt.
Yeah.
Where the chair just suddenly follows him into the next room like it's just a mechanical chair that just floats out of the room. And he's showing him the computer, and he picks up a phone and pretends to call the president and blows up like part of the Statue of Liberty as an example. You get the impression that the way the scene originally went on paper was he calls the president and makes a threat, and they show part of the Statue of Liberty blowing up.
Yeah.
And they're like, we don't have the money for that. Let's just have him pretend to make the phone call. That way we understand why we're not seeing it explode, because he's just getting the idea across of what he could do.
Oh, my dear, terribly sorry, Mr. President. Seems Miss Liberty's entire right arm. Oh, my goodness. Part of that right breast, too. Now, naturally, I could hold entire cities for ransom. Cities, not titties.
I did like, though, when he's showing him the computer and he says, I've been building things like this since I was a baby. And then Pinsky goes,
That's really sweet.
Thanks.
It's just a nice moment between the two of them. But yeah, the formula for this, the transition is in the monkey's brain. And so he needs the monkey, and he won't tell him where the monkey is. When he is pretending to threaten the president, he says he wants 50 billion bananas or 50 billion anything.
Yeah.
He's trying to be impressive. And then Pinsky's like, I'm not impressed. And then he says that he won't tell him where the monkey is. And he says, well, what makes you think I'm going to hurt you? And then we cut to him getting loaded into this like underground
wine cellar.
Yeah. It's the basement of the place where they have Amy all tied up and him all tied up now. And he says, I'm going to kill you tomorrow if you don't tell me. It's like, I don't know why you're giving us 24 hours. Also, you have no leverage because you're just saying you have 24 hours to let me kill the universe.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. It's like, I'm going to die either way. Just kill me then, I guess. He's not like offering them anything, and he's not threatening to torture them.
Well, he did offer to have him join the team.
Right, but he's already refused that. So now he says, you have 24 hours to tell us. He's just going to kill you. It's pretty clear the plan would just be, I'm going to kill both of these people as soon as they tell me where the monkey is. I guess you have to verify it first, though.
Yeah.
They talk about untying each other with their mouths.
Well, yeah, there's implied, like, fellatio.
Yes.
Well, yeah, but they actually show what she's doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is trying
With
to
her
pull
mouth.
the ropes off his legs with her mouth.
Right. But he says, well, even if we're untied, there's no way we could escape this room. And she's like, that's not what I had in mind.
Right.
And then they make out for 12 hours.
Well, he tries to take the ropes out her feet with his mouth. So they're like 69ing these ropes
And
off
she's like,
each other.
I just took your ropes off. You don't need to do this. And he's like, I know. I just love the taste of rope.
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
No. The next morning, the entire cab company is coming down the road towards the vineyard. Arnold gets out of the front car, and he's like throwing orders to the men because he thinks of himself as like a Patton character. He had a big Patton poster in his in the mechanic shop. He walks up to the first like biggest henchman at the front door and just knocks him out immediately.
Yeah. These guys start kicking major ass.
Yeah, but he busts into the basement and rescues Amy and Pinsky very quickly.
He like bursts through the door.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Mueller's upstairs just like literally praying out loud that Pinsky doesn't ruin the computer that he showed him. It's like, I wouldn't have shown him the computer at all if I really was that interested in protecting it. But Arnold goes and he rescues these two. Outside, the cab drivers and the henchmen are all facing off against each other. We see Elsa like strangling one of the henchmen with a cable.
Yeah.
From the cab, like through the driver's side window.
Like the walkie-talkie microphone cable.
Yeah. Another cabbie is driving with two bad guys on the hood of his car and just like scraping them off with trees and crashes. Pinsky knocks over a decoration as he's entering the room with the computer, which I listened to an interview today with the director, and that was not planned. That thing that falls over when he walks
it didn't
in the
look
room.
planned, but
No.
I was super amazed because it didn't look planned, and he just kept on going.
Yeah,
he
well,
just
it
made
was
the best
super
of it.
expensive, and they were just paying for the location.
Oh,
it was someone's
no.
house, and they destroyed that thing. There was supposed to be a sandbag to keep the door from hitting it, and there was not a sandbag there for that take. So, but you're right. He plays the scene completely straight, and then he takes a chair in and completely destroys the computer in the room, or I guess half destroys it.
Yeah. And then when he's got like the bottle of vintage wine, but Cort just sheds this single tear when he sees him
Just
with
like,
it.
no. He's going to destroy his two favorite things in one swing. But he's like, please don't destroy my computer. And it's like, I just hit it with a chair for like a full 30 seconds. I'm pretty sure it's destroyed. But he hurls this bottle of wine into the monitor and the whole thing just explodes. And it starts like beeping louder and louder and louder. And everybody runs out of this building. Pinsky and Amy are running away from the property. Arnold says, we don't have the monkey. The monkey got stolen by some Russian guy.
Yeah.
So together he and Amy steal a third cab.
Well, technically, this would be the fourth cab that they.
Okay.
Well, I guess they didn't steal the first one.
Maybe
He was just driving the
That's
first
true,
one.
yeah.
But it is the fourth cab of the movie that they take.
And destroy. But yeah, so they steal this other cab and leave to go intercept the monkey. They go to where the circus was, but the circus isn't there anymore. It already packed up. And Pinsky determines that the Ivan, whatever his name was, from the note is actually the name of a ship, and that the circus is leaving town on this ship.
Yeah, he looks out on when they're because they're near the coast, and he looks out on the water and sees a boat, and then he gets the idea to look at the shipping news.
Yeah,
I guess.
And then he sees that it's the name of the boat that the circus just left on. Somehow they get on board the ship.
Doesn't seem hard. They just seem to get on.
Yeah. So was it still docked when they got to it?
Yeah.
Okay. For some reason in my head they were getting on that one that he saw out in the ocean.
No, I think that was just inspiration.
That was just another ship. Okay. But they got onto the ship, and the giant notices them, but because he fell off of that tent and didn't have a truck full of hay to catch him, he's in a full body cast.
That makes more sense now. I wasn't totally clear on who was in there, and I was like, did he get that hurt?
Yeah. It's from falling off of the building. And he's trying to warn everybody that they're there, but he can't really make a lot of sound from inside of this thing. So they come up to a cage full of monkeys, and they start doinging at them to try and get the monkey to react. And they notice that a separate monkey in a smaller cage behind them that's like hidden away is reacting very actively to this sound.
And I thought what they were setting up was they're going to let all these monkeys go with that monkey, and they're not going to know which one to catch.
Or they're going to kill some other monkey that doesn't matter off the side of this boat.
Yeah. It was like, I was just picturing like the Simpsons with the puppy, like it's like a bunch of Rory Calhouns.
Yeah. My favorite line from that episode is when she says, what you're doing is illegal. And then he says, here's a phone, call someone who cares. And she's like, 911. He's like, give me that. Takes the phone back. They rescue the monkey from this small cage, but they're very quickly interrupted.
They had keys. Where did they get those keys?
They got it off the one guy that they knocked out.
Oh, okay.
But then the FBI climbs up over the side of the boat. Peter Coyote is completely dry, but his other guys are totally soaking wet, which makes me think that he used them as some kind of raft.
That's awesome. But there's also a quick moment just before that when they're running around with this monkey. like they hear someone coming and Pinsky tries to hide and he accidentally jumps like out the side of the ship and he's hanging on this thin railing. And then you see like a guard bear just walking down the side of the ship.
Yeah.
Because this is obviously, it's like the whole circus is packed onto the ship. So they have bears, but there's literally a bear going down this narrow corridor. But yeah, then everyone faces off. We have the Russians on one side, the FBI on the other side. And he thinks that the FBI is the good guys, and that the guy takes off his sunglasses and reveals that he's with the FBI, and they'll take that monkey. Thank you very much. We'll take the monkey.
Well, he first reveals that I've been chasing you for 3 days,
right,
to tell you that you're off the hook.
Yeah,
we know
your name
you're
has been
innocent.
cleared.
Don't worry.
We know that you didn't kill the first 2 guys, and we pin the third murder on somebody else.
Well, and you have 78 unpaid parking tickets, but in our eyes, you're good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he hands the monkey, but the monkey clearly does not want to be with Peter Coyote.
Right.
And starts struggling. And you could tell like Peter Coyote is trying to hold on to this thing. And it's like, oh, it's
like, I can't drop this monkey off the side of the boat. I'm going to get in so much trouble.
I really need this. This is my first big gig.
But yeah, so Pinsky obviously does not want them to kill the monkey. So he pretends to give up on this disagreement and go below deck. And he sticks his head out of a porthole that's lower than them and tries to get Amy's attention as she's standing on the edge of the ship so that she can drop the monkey down to him.
Yeah, she threatens to drop the monkey, and the Russians are like, no. And the FBI is like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
We're good with that.
You
You,
know,
want to
it's-
kill a monkey, it's
what
fine.
does he say? It's like, he's like, it's just a misdemeanor to drown a monkey.
Yeah.
It's like common knowledge that it's misdemeanor to drown a monkey.
But like as if that she would be charged. Like,
Yeah.
he already admitted that he was going to kill us.
Yeah, that's going on your permanent record, but that's cool. You know, it's a misdemeanor. It's not that bad. I think it's actually a felony now. As of like a couple weeks ago, I think that there was an executive order passed that made it like a felony to kill animals for needless purposes. No, I guess you can eat them. That's fine.
That's not needless.
As long
if
as
you're
you eat
eating
this
them.
monkey, you drown it and then you eat it, right? It's just a little waterlogged. It's still good.
It's called brining.
Is that what it's called? It's like a pickle.
You never had a brine turkey?
You know what I like to do when I'm done with the monkey jar? Is I drink all the monkey juice. Pickled monkeys.
Chilled monkey brains.
So Amy finally notices that he's down there after him like pantomiming frustration for like 15, 20 seconds of just like, he puts his arms out, he pulls his head back in, he puts his arms back out. He's just being very weird down there instead of
He's
just like,
weird through this whole movie.
Just
This
hang
guy
out
is-
of the boat and wait for the monkey.
This guy is a quirky, weird dude all the time.
Yeah. But eventually she drops the monkey and maybe he catches it. We'll never know because they never show him pull it back into the boat, do they?
No.
We just hear the monkey make sounds while his arms are out of the boat. But possibly it's drowning. We'll never know.
But
And-
everyone thinks that the monkey's in the water, so they immediately jump in.
Right. The Russians jump in because they need the monkey's brains, and the FBI jumps in because they need to prove that the monkey is dead. How they can prove that this is the correct monkey is beyond me, because they know very little about this experiment. They don't even have
Yeah.
a picture of the monkey to go off of. But yeah, so suddenly everyone's jumping off of the ship, and we cut to the last round of the music competition, the finals, and Pinsky's group comes out.
I gotta get all the way to the mountaintop. I got a date somewhere in those clouds up there.
And sings a song that's fine. The song before it was better, so I think they lost the competition, but I don't think they announce a winner in the movie, do they?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But I think the punk band that came out had the audience more riled up. But then he comes out and he sings his like folksy song, and it's fine. And then when the song's over, Mueller drops out of the ceiling, dressed like head to toe in this punk outfit, including like shoes with like 6-inch spikes on the bottom of them, like they're cleats. And they stab into the floor, and he's stuck, and he can't move. And he's trying to threaten Pinsky, but then Pinsky turns to the crowd and says, "This is my friend Mueller, and he has kiss tickets all over his body. So come and get him." And then the whole crowd swarms him and starts grabbing him and trying to get the tickets. And then him and Amy kiss, And that's the end of this scene in the movie. Oh, I should mention, during the punk song that was playing before, that Gregor shows up in like a full punk outfit, and he still can't talk for some reason, but he's wearing like all leather and everything, and he has like spiked hair, but he starts jumping up and down to the beat of the music because he's enjoying the punk music so much. But yeah, that's the end of this film. Director Jeff Werner. This was his second to last fictional feature after The Great Girl Robbery. He's done primarily documentaries since then. The writer Scott Parker, he Knows You're Alone later this year, and that's about it. And the other writer, the father of Robbie Benson, Jerry Segal, has another screenwriting credit for One-on-One starring Robbie in 1977. The editor for this, Neil Travis, is a renowned editor. He has an Oscar for Dances with Wolves. He worked with monkeys again for Outbreak, which I think the monkey from Outbreak is the monkey from Friends. Or at least in the universe of Friends it was. Because I think they were shooting like an Outbreak sequel or something. Maybe not. And he was also the editor for both of Harrison Ford's Jack Ryan movies and Terminator 3. But getting into the cast, Robbie Benson was Pinsky. He wrote this movie with his father. He is the voice of Drake in a Dragonheart sequel. I assume that's one of the dragons. He was Edward in MXP, Most Extreme Primate, another monkey movie.
What?
And probably most famous as the voice of the Beast in Beauty and the Beast.
I thought I told you to come down to dinner.
I'm not hungry.
You'll come out or I'll break down the door.
In like every incarnation of that, like all the video games, all the shorts, he does it for everything.
I feel like Disney should do that more, because when you pick somebody who's
famous
a
for
crazy
your stuff.
famous voice, whose only like, or whose most known credit is the movie that you put them in, they will do that voice forever.
That's true. Yeah. Linda Grosner was Amy. This is one of only 2 features. She came back for Wheels of Fire in '85, but that was the end of that. Charles Durning is Arnold here. He was Doc Hopper in the Muppet movie, as he said. He's wearing Hudsucker in the Hudsucker proxy, as you said. He's also Peter Griffin's stepfather, Francis Griffin.
Yeah.
Elsa Lanchester was Sophie, or Katie, or whoever. She was the Bride of Frankenstein in The Bride of Frankenstein. She was Katie Nana in Mary Poppins. She's Henrietta Stiles in the 1971 Willard. She's Jessica Marbles in Murder by Death, which is fantastic. And she also played Mama in a TV movie reboot of Where's Papa?
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was like 9 years after the movie came out, they did a reboot for TV.
Reboot.
Yeah, it's a weird choice. Especially because that's already a bizarre movie.
It's a strange movie, right?
And it feels
Who's clamoring for the TV version?
Yeah, nobody. Bud Cort was Mueller. He was Private Boone in MASH, Harold and Maude, the Stooge in Life Aquatic. We've covered him before.
The Bond Company Stooge.
Yeah.
He's so great in that.
Marty Zagon was the friend, like I'm your friend. He plays Zax in Metal Storm, The Destruction of Jared Sin.
Hey!
Which we're going to have more people from that soon. I just wanted to touch on it. Larry Hankin was Bock. I guess that's the name of the guy who goes in and shoots everybody and gets acid thrown in his face.
His name.
Well, he says Mueller says it once.
Oh, okay.
He says go get them, Mr. Bock.
Oh,
but that's.
I would have spelled it B-A-C-H. Would have been my guess.
But also, people keep saying the wrong names throughout this whole movie, so I wouldn't.
So who cares?
Give it any credit to it.
He plays Old Joe on Breaking Bad. He's Pastor Randy in Pain and Gain, and he's Carl Alphonse in Billy Madison.
Yeah, that's his best role ever.
He's also the elevator operator in Barton Fink, I think.
Oh, okay, that's possible.
There's another Coen Brothers.
There were too many, so I had to like cherry pick.
He's in a lot of stuff.
Peter Coyote is Davis, the FBI man. He plays Keyes in E.T.
Mm-hmm.
Who is Keyes?
Keyes is
the guy with the FBI again, or
he's basically the head of the alien looking for force.
Right.
He's never given a name. He's only identified by the keychain that whenever he's shown walking, it shows that first.
Right. And in the original feature release, it was like a bunch of grenades, but then they replaced them with keys for one of the remakes. No, that's not true. He plays Barnes in Sphere, which is like a cheap ripoff of Cube.
What? No,
it's good. I would say it's a decent ripoff of 2001: A Space Odyssey.
I'll allow that.
Yeah. Bill Davis and Patch Adams. That's a third Peter Coyote character. Charlie Fleischer was he played Charlie here. That's the other member of the band who took off 2 masks. That's Charles Fleischer. He's Dr. King in Nightmare on Elm Street. He's Terry in Back to the Future 2, and he is the voice of Roger Rabbit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's great. Carol Strucken, or Struyken, not sure how to pronounce the last name, is Gregor the Giant. He plays Arkillian in Men in Black. He's the Giant in Twin Peaks. Mm-hmm. He's Grandpa Flick in Dr. Sleep, which just came out, the sequel to The Shining.
He's good in that part too, in Dr. Sleep. Dr. Sleep, like a lot of people don't like it. I really enjoyed it.
Well, I'm sure we'll be discussing it more soon with our Shining review. I'll have to check it out before we get to that. And he obviously, I said before, played Lurch in the Addams Family movies.
And Mr. Hom on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Right. He was always following Barrett around.
Mitchell Barrett's character.
Rhoda Gimignani.
Okay, I was hoping you were going to
I'm not going to leave her out. You only see her for like a half second on this ship as all the Russians are piling in to jump off of the boat. But apparently she was the ticket taker at the circus too. I just didn't notice her there. But she's credited as Russian ticket taker. But she's the real estate agent from Ghostbusters.
Really?
Who says...
There's office space, sleeping quarters, and showers on the next floor, and there's a full kitchen on the top level.
It just seems a little pricey for a unique fixer-upper opportunity, that's all.
And then they're like, well, it's completely substandard for our power needs.
Yeah.
I think this building should be condemned. Have you guys tried this pole?
I recognized her right away.
Yeah, I did too.
Which is weird. Is like that. I only know her from one thing.
Yeah.
But I know that movie so inside and out.
Well, I feel the same way whenever I see David Margulies in anything. The guy, he was in Hide in Plain Sight. Mm-hmm. But whenever I see him, I always immediately go to Ghostbusters with his face. But yeah, Rhoda's great. Regina Walden was the screaming lady. That's the screaming lady who's getting the gun pointed at her.
Yeah, at the car.
She's the babysitter from The Fog that gets killed by the ghosts. So we've covered her already this year. And Olan Jones played Judge. She's credited as Olan Shepard. She's one of the judges for the Battle of the Bands contest thing going on. But she's Esmeralda from Edward Scissorhands, the woman who thinks that Edward is a demon, or the one who thinks
plays the organ in her house.
Right, she's like the creepy religious lady. But that's everybody from the cast on this one.
For the crew, I wanted to mention Craig Savan only because he did one of my favorite movie film scores, and that is for the Last Starfighter.
Oh, okay.
I love that score. I love that theme. He also did all the music for Cheers. Other things like Nightmare on Elm Street, 4, Vegas Vacation are the big ones that are up on the thing. Major Pain.
Did he do the theme for Cheers?
I don't know if he did the theme for Cheers, but he's just credited as composer for Cheers. 261
I feel like all the instrumental is bits of the theme. Like they just thought dun, 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 as they come back from a commercial break.
Yeah, but someone had to write that.
Yeah, but I would assume that person also wrote it for the theme of the show, but maybe not.
I did mention it also though that getting back to Peter Coyote, that this was his first feature.
Is that true?
Yeah, I missed that. This is his very first credit, and he would he's recognizable mostly by his voice. He does a lot of narration for like biographies and things like that. But this was his first film.
Did you come up with an alternative title?
Oh yeah, I forgot we were going to do that. Die Laughing is a terrible title for this movie, and despite the fact that some people died laughing at the very beginning, I would say that it doesn't fit very well at all, especially when you should obviously have something about monkeys in the title.
Yeah.
Did you guys come up with alternate titles for this movie?
Well, I did, but it's not funny. So I felt like I did this wrong because I didn't come up with a funny one.
Let's hear what you came up with, because I bet it's better than the nothing I came up with.
It should be called Rush Hour. with all the car stuff.
You know what's really funny is every title I came up with is already the title of another movie.
Yeah, but this
what, like Monkey Trouble?
Monkey Trouble, yeah.
Yeah, monkey. That's why I said like Monkey Shines.
Yeah.
Any Which Way But Loose.
But I felt like this should have been called Rush Hour. Like, with all the driving they do, the name of the band. I know it doesn't lend any kind of credence to what the movie's about, but neither does Die Laughing.
I think the difference is that Die Laughing is both not related and doesn't make me want to see the movie.
Yeah.
I remember early I came up with Baboom, but that doesn't make any sense because it's clearly not a baboon.
People don't know, though.
Do they not? Okay, then Baboom. That's mine.
Pinsky and the Brain.
That's great. That's wonderful. Richard, what do you think? Up or down?
Great. I guess I give it a reluctant up. I liked it okay, but I don't know. Like I don't think it's a bad movie. I can't think of really anyone to recommend it to. But it's watchable. It's certainly very watchable, and I laughed a couple of times.
And it keeps moving.
Yeah.
It's got a good pace to it. Jess, what do you think? Up or down?
I give it an up. It's not even a very reluctant up. I enjoyed it, and I thought Robby Benson was really charming. And
no, he's a cute kid. He's definitely. I understand why he was like a heartthrob.
Oh, totally.
And he has a great singing voice.
He's got an amazing voice. I enjoyed the songs. I thought it was quirky. I laughed out loud many times. I give it an up.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it an up, even if only for that first, like the opening gambit, if you will, that right before the title pops up, where this whole laboratory of scientists is just destroyed and a henchman has acid thrown in his face and a monkey escapes from a laboratory. I was like, holy crap, like this movie's gonna be ridiculous. I could already tell. We haven't even gotten into the especially weird stuff.
It's got such a great cast. I mean, I love everybody in this movie. It's fabulous.
Yeah, it's great. All right, so Letterboxd. What are we thinking, guys?
It's high on my list.
Where's this going, Jess?
Right now it's going in 9th place, which is after The Long Riders, but above Mad Max.
Above Mad Max, all right.
Doing it.
I actually have it kind of more mid-range. It's going to be just below Carney and just above In Plain Sight.
Okay. I think for me, this is going just above Carney and just below Folks, a.k.a. North Sea Hijack. I think that's about it for this one. If you have any thoughts you'd like to share with us, we are Vintage Video Pod on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Letterboxd, or as I've said before, you could find each of our full movie rankings for the year. We can also be found at vintagevideopodcast.com. Please consider rating us on iTunes to help people find the show. And if you take the time to leave us a review, we will thank you personally in an upcoming episode. If you're feeling especially generous, you can support the show through patreon.com/vintagevideopodcast. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you'll join us next time when we will be discussing the Gong Show movie, which according to IMDb is about a week in the life of the Gong Show host and creator Chuck Barris, who lives through a series of outrageous competitors, stressful situations, a nervous breakdown, and other comical characters involved in his life and work on the TV show. We leave you now with the trailer for the Gong Show movie.
What pushed this man over the edge? His new movie, The Gong Show movie.
Oh, come get me. Come get me, come get me.
A bullseye!
Oh, take me away now.
Listen, out. The Gong Show movie is driving people wild.
And then I say no, Milton, if you please.
The Gong Show movie is making people angry.
You die now.
The Gong Show movie is very revealing. But best of all, the Gong Show movie is unfit for TV.
The Gong Show movie. The Gong Show that was gone by the censor. It's the Gong Show you could never see on TV. From Universal Pictures.